The Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, appears to have made another U-turn, this time on the BBC TV licence. Are you surprised? Well, I'm not. This is absolutely not shocking. We knew that U-turns will happen every single day in this government. 13 years of a so-called Conservative government, all the empty promises continues on a regular basis. And then when the next election comes, they're going to give you all the happy words and they're not going to do anything about it. All right, so we've been talking about all this stuff over the last few years. It's not really a surprise, but it's good to point out what's been going on. So Lucy Fraser is the Culture Secretary. Part of her portfolio is media, to be in charge of the BBC relationship and the funding structure and everything else. She was interviewed by Laura Kuenssberg on the BBC itself, being asked about whether the Tories are still keeping their promise to scrap the licence fee in 2027. We've been waiting for that. We got all the promises. When Boris Johnson was Prime Minister, Boris and Nadine Dorries were saying this is what they want to do. Well, they're not in power anymore, but it doesn't really matter because the whole of the Tory establishment, they don't seem to have any appetite. Let's go to Lucy Fraser first.
One of your predecessors, Nadine Dorries, said the current settlement would be the last. So in other words, licence fees on the way out. Do you agree?
I think the BBC is a phenomenal British institution. So I mentioned, the 200 dignitaries that came over the weekend, and I had an opportunity to speak to many of them who talk about the soft power of the UK. That means, recognising our values.
Okay, I need to stop her here. What's that got to do with the funding? She's talking in a sense that we are saying, well, completely just demolish the whole building and just destroy the whole thing. The BBC could stay. No one has a problem with that. As long as they have their own independence and get their own funding, that will be fine. And they have to be honest about their leanings and about the biases. Everything's fine. But she's not answering the question.
Overseas, and the BBC is part of that.
So should the licence fee stay then?
We do need to look at, and we're reviewing, as you all know, we're reviewing the Charter, and we will be looking at the licence fee. And the licence fee is one of that, and I do think we need to think about the way the BBC is funded, but it is important that it gets the resources that it needs.
Oh, really? It does need to get the resources. This is backpedaling. This is literally the definition of backpedaling. Oh, well, we'll do another review. You've been saying we're going to do a review, and you've done so many reviews since 2010, and we're going to go back into history. We're going to give you a bit of a reminder what's been going on, but let's see what she says.
Able to continue to be the fantastic institution that
But are you disagreeing then with Nadine Dorries, who said very clearly, as Culture Secretary, you're now Culture Secretary, she said the licence fee settlement as it stands would be the last. In other words, the licence fee firmly, in her view, was on the way out.
That's what she said.
Is that your view?
Well, we are reviewing the licence fee. I've started that review. I'll be listening to a number of...
Yeah. Listen to people as much as you like, Lucy Fraser. Nothing's going to change. Okay, so let's do a bit of a modern history lesson. Since 2010 onwards, since David Cameron became Prime Minister, the Conservative Party have been going around giving all these promises. When we got closer to the 2015 general election, we had all these promises that David Cameron was saying the Conservatives will give firstly they gave a BBC a warning of a licence fee freeze. That was the beginning of it. They're saying, well, yeah, we have to save money. The taxpayer needs to save money. So David Cameron said, well, we're going to get the BBC to freeze the licence fee. So it started slowly and softly, as he was. And then we had other headlines. Remember when David Cameron said he would support decriminalisation of the licence fee for non-payment? And so that was another. He went to the next level. He said, okay, we could actually get a bit harder against the BBC culture and the structure. Then obviously we had... David Cameron's Culture Secretary at the time in 2015 saying that the BBC licence fee is worse than the poll tax and it has to go. So they did it step by step. First saying, well, we'll freeze it, the licence fee. Then they said, we'll decriminalise it. Then they said, it's worse than the poll tax, so it has to go. So we got excited. We said, oh, okay, it's happening, finally. Nothing happened. Then Theresa May became Prime Minister. Nothing happened. She said the similar stuff. Then we had, again, David Cameron actually, on the 12th of May, 2015, paving the way for shake-up of the BBC as a licence fee critic, John Whittingdale, was joining the all-Tory cabinet. And because this was after the coalition was over and the Tories had a majority. So that was when they were saying, we're looking into it. We're going to do a review of the license fee. And they did. And as Lucy Fraser said, they did listen to everybody at the time. Nothing happened. Then you had Boris Johnson coming. Boris Johnson said he's looking at abolishing the TV license fee for BBC. And we got excited again. His remarks came amid row over the Prime Minister's refusal to look at the picture of a sick boy in hospital. Oh, that was just a chaotic day, I remember. But nothing happened. And then, obviously, we had Nadine Dorries as Culture Secretary of Boris Johnson saying the BBC license fee will be axed and replaced by a new funding model. And then, obviously, there was a coup against Boris Johnson, Nadine Dorries and everybody else, and they got rid of him. Then the members of the Tory party voted for Liz Truss. Then they did another coup against Liz Truss. They brought in Jeremy Hunt and Rishi Sunak. And now backpedaling. They're going to do another review. Nothing has changed, in the words of Theresa May. Embarrassing, right? This is the government that we've had for the past 13 years. We are still waiting for a little bit of conservatism. It's not happening anytime soon. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'm Mahyar, Tousi, and we are the media.